Welcome to Starship EVO, the ultimate space sandbox where you can create and explore wherever you want in a vast, vast galaxy. Think No Man's Sky and Space Engineers had a love child created all by one dev, and he's created a hidden gem. I'm going to show you the ins and outs of this game from the basics all the way to complex methods. I'm going to be your guide for the next 6 hours, but I have an index already set up. So of course, you can just skip around to the parts that you need to see. The codex is going to pop up on the screen, and that will show you the different times for all the different areas that I am going to cover. My name is Space, your intergalactic guide to Starship EVO. Let's dive right into this world and get you started. Welcome back to the main menu of Starship EVO. It's time for you to get into survival. If you followed along on the build along and you've watched some of these other chapters, you have everything you need to really understand how to get this game, like, kind of going. The flow, you could say. So now that you can actually understand the flow, let's create a new character. And this time it's for survival. So we're just going to call this Survival Tutorial Guy. We'll call him Survival Tut Guy. Just a little temporary thing. And your appearance, you're going to have to change your appearance again. It won't save your appearance from your last playthrough. So if you have a specific look that you like to go with, like I always have my Shroom Man, never fails. I always use Shroom Guy. He is my character. I identify as Mr. Shroom. Alright, so that's really all you gotta do. Now that we switched to survival, and it just made a new random seed, you can make the seed whatever random combination of letters you want, 6 different letters. And we'll go ahead and hit play. And here we are. So right now we're getting printed out. This is the initial spawn. And depending on your world seed, you will spawn on a different part of this world. As you can see, we're by water. This is considered a lucky start. And when you spawn in, you're going to have this med pod, and you're going to have this shipwreck. Everybody starts with the same shipwreck. It's just in variants of destruction. This is a pretty destroyed version of it, so we could actually get less overall scrap from it. But now that we're in survival, it's going to give us the tutorial mission. As I've showed before, if you press tab and go to your missions tab up top, we can go ahead and cancel these tutorial missions. Because these are the basic tutorial missions to kind of onboard you. But being that you're watching a tutorial video, do you really need those things on screen constantly spamming you? Probably not. So we'll go ahead, press tab again, open your codex, and you're going to see the codex is a little different. As I said before, the blocks tab is not here because you do not have access to all the blocks in the game here. So we're going to get our mining tool, going to get our symmetry tool, and going to get the link tool. The things I always say that are essential. And if you're in survival, you probably always want the mining tool. So our first essentials is we have to make a starter block. So to make a starter block, we need 3 scrap. And scrap is obtained from these shipwrecks. So this is the first thing you're going to want to get. Go ahead and start using your mining laser on the shipwreck and just collect some scrap. You're going to see at the bottom left, that gray bar above the health bar, That is our backpack space and our storage inventory. You can go over the maximum storage capacity, but you will start walking slower. You will always move slower and slower the more overweight you are. So see, we have normal speed right now, but we're about to end up over capacity. It will tell us how much percentage we are over capacity and when we do become. Now it says 112 overloaded. So as you can see now, we move slower because of that. But we have our scrap now. That's all we needed. So let's find a nice little flat area here that's kind of unobstructed. Don't want a bunch of grass in the way. And then what we're going to do, hit tab again and craft one starter block. And then use the rest of your scrap here. Hold down left click and craft a bunch of scrappy hull. And now this is really the only time is during the start of the game you're going to have to do this stuff manually, holding it down. It's kind of like Satisfactory, the beginning of Satisfactory, if you're familiar with that game. It's very similar to that, this first little part of the crafting loop. And then as we advance, it's going to become a little bit more factory based, which is also a lot like Satisfactory. There's even conveyor belts you could use. So that's pretty cool. So there you go. It takes 1 second to craft. So if it was 38 pieces, we would take 38 seconds to craft. So the next thing we need to make is a crafting bench, and that requires 2 wood, 4 scrap. So we're going to go ahead and get a little bit more scrap real quick. If you hold shift, you can run around. This is how you run. So hold shift while you're pressing W, and of course, zoom around that way. So all we need is a little bit of scrap there. And then we'll do the same thing on trees. The mining laser is how you get any kind of materials from the game. Unless you're using the mining laser on a vehicle, like that survival craft we made. So go ahead and get a little bit of wood here. You actually get a fair amount of wood per tree you destroy. It's always random. And now we have the essentials to make our crafting bench. So go ahead and make 1 crafting bench. All right. So here's where we're going to make our first base. So we have the starter block. This would make a craft, a ship. Since it's blue, it would make a ship, a hovercraft, or a mech suit. If it's green, it's going to make a land base. These are landlocked. Now, one thing to note about land bases, you cannot save them as blueprints and spawn a base somewhere else. These are one-off things that you cannot transport to other parts of your playthrough unless you were to create it as a vehicle. But if something is created as a vehicle, and it's going to show you the tutorial telling blah 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 that you made a land base. But if you do not make it a land base, you can't use things like wind turbines, because wind turbines require a land base to even function. So now we have our starter block. What we're going to do here, get our symmetry tool out. Just going to go ahead and get that X symmetry in the middle. And we'll just go ahead and make a platform here. So we'll just stretch this out. Try to stretch it out flat way, because you want to save some blocks here. And then just make a platform here. You just make it however big you want. It doesn't really matter. And just get it where it's kind of phasing into the ground there. Really, it's all up to you. But yeah, we used pretty much all of our scrappy hole blocks there. But maybe we could save just a tiny bit more of them. I could always get more. But let's go ahead and put our crafting bench on here. Now, let's open our crafting bench. And the first things we need to make, very first thing we need, is a crucible. And to make a crucible, we need plate and stone. Plate requires iron. Actually, it requires this to scrap, excuse me, because if we needed the iron, then how would we melt anything in the crucible? So go ahead and make a little bit of plate with some of that scrap we had left. We're just going to make just a little bit here. Pretty much just use all the scrap and make some plate, because plate's pretty useful and important to have. And we're going to go ahead. You can also go ahead and use what's left of that wood and use the rest of the wood to make some storage crates here. These wooden storage crates. And then we'll go ahead and create one crucible. Preferably create 2 crucibles. What you can do, see these little rocks on the ground? Just pick up some rocks. And we just need that. So now we have enough rocks, and go ahead and go back here. Craft one more crucible. There we go. Now we could go ahead and get our storage crate wherever we want. So preferably do it in a little bit of a bigger grid if you want more storage space. So that'll give us 3,000 storage space in there. We can put all of our extra things we don't need there. So we're going to go ahead and take our crucibles and put them right on top. Oh, did I only make 1 crucible? I could have swore I made 2. Did I not? Oh. Oh! Oops. I still had mirroring on. I was like, why is my other crucible gone? Love when I do that. You got to make sure you have a component in your hand if you want to delete a component. So for example, we could use our starter block as the thing to delete a component. We'll go ahead and put those 2 crucibles right on top there. And the crucibles require fuel. Now, they can either use wood, which burns much faster, or if you press V on your scanner, and you're lucky enough to have a coal vein nearby, there's one right there. You can grab some coal, and coal is a much better thing because we have coal and iron right next to each other. Fe is iron, and look, that's a big iron vein. And then we're gonna go get that coal vein. So let's get the iron vein first. We'll get some of this iron. Actually, probably get the coal first because we're gonna get overweight from doing this. So I'm going to go over to the coal. Just going to cut over to get to the coal. All right, here we are at the coal. Now, one thing that's important to note, since our world seeds will probably be different, you might not have coal near you, and you might just have to use wood. Or you might have a coal resource literally right next to you. You never know. So get your mining laser out, and just periodically hit V so you can see where that coal vein is. And then look, we've struck coal. There it is. So we'll just go ahead and start digging our way in. And you're going to see we're going to pick up rock and coal at the same time. Now the rocks, we're just going to get out of our inventory when we're done. Now one important thing to note, we don't have a jetpack right now. So you're going to have to climb your way out of this hole. So if you make it too steep like what I've just done, you're going to have to regrade this hole to be able to get yourself to be able to climb out. Because you don't want to get yourself stuck. It's kind of like, Minecraft in that sense where you're always trying to plan your tunnels in your mines a little bit so you don't end up trapping yourself. I'm going to go ahead and just keep getting some coal. And I'm just going to cut here because it's going to take a second to get some coal. Alright, I got a fair amount of coal, and I just crawled out of our hole. I got 25 here. Takes a little bit of time. You can kind of see the cool physics on the rocks. Look at that. It'll roll all the way down. There it goes. It's fun watching the physics sometimes. So now we're going to go ahead and backtrack and hit that iron vein on the way home. And we can get ourselves really overweight on the iron vein because we'll be closer to the ship and our storage, so we won't have to walk as far. And of course, I didn't even notice there was more coal veins right over there that might have been even closer. I didn't even see them. So we're going to go ahead and mosey on over to the iron vein here. Alright, here it is. A big, juicy iron veins. The ones where you can see the deposit on the surface are always a lot better, and they will give you more yield. Look at that. Look at all the iron we're getting. You get way more of the material if it's one of those surface deposits. Don't quite know why it works that way, but it just does, so don't question it. and just love it when you see a vein that is on the surface like this, because these are your prime ones to go for. Or on some planets and moons you explore, you're going to find straight up pillars. I'm talking pillars that are the height of these trees of pure iron, pure copper, pure gold. Those are the best veins you'll find in this game, but they're rare and you only find them on certain moons and planets. There's countless types of like variations of planets and moons you could run into in this game. But one thing that's going to be very important before you go on your journey to space and leave this system, stock up on a lot of wood, because trees are not a very common thing on your journey. And if you run out of wood, you're not going to be able to make copper spool anymore, the wire. And the wire is needed for like almost everything component wise in the game, because the wire has to be on a wooden spool, like the spool of wire. That's the only reason the wood's needed. But that wood is essential because of that. Like I say, I'll just spit out all my rocks. For getting rid of anything in your inventory, you just simply pick it up and then click off of your inventory and you will get rid of it. So I'm going to go ahead and head back to the ship. If you lose your place and you don't know where your base is, you can press V and you'll see your starter base as that icon, and you'll see your shipwreck right over there. You'll also see other shipwrecks on the map this way too. Now, for my little method here, I'm just going to, of course, cut away because, as you can see, I'm extremely heavy and I'm moving like a snail. But we're going to fix that very soon, because I'm going to get you your first movement option pretty fast. It's one of the first essential things to go for. So I'll be back with you after my snail pace gets over to the ship. All right, we're back. That might have took a little while, or it would have, but since I have the power of editing, I can just press F1, activate fast move keys, and then if you press the brackets, you can change the speed of yourself. And I know it's a little cheaty, but this is a tutorial, so I don't need to necessarily go through the pain of survival right now. And I mean, you could be that cheaty person too if you felt like it, but I wouldn't recommend it. So we'll just go ahead and turn off those fast move keys, because we don't really need those. That F1 menu is kind of like your, I want to do cheaty things menu. I want easy mode. We're making a tutorial video. It's fine. I don't have to go through pain. I've gone through pain in plenty of playthroughs already. So if you right click right here, you can take half of your stack of whatever you click on. So we're going to take half of the coal for one side, half for the other. Same with the iron. 32 iron there, 32 iron here. And those are going to go ahead and start melting into iron ingot. And get rid of those rocks. And if you wanted, you could hold shift and then click something, and it will automatically store it. You won't have to drag it over. That's the easy way to quick drag items back and forth from your inventory. You can also, of course, delete the starter block, because it is no longer needed after you get your first block on your base. I'm going to get a tiny bit more scrap here because I want to fill in that little spot right there. And then we'll go ahead and get the next important resource, which is going to be copper. When it comes to resource priority, iron is always going to be top of the food chain. Wood is second. Copper is third. And then you're going to go down to the other types of materials, which are not as essential. So we're just going to go ahead and make 3 whole blocks. That should be enough to get the job done here. We won't actually even be able to fully fill it, but hey, it's fine. It's fine. If you wanted, you could press F5 to no clip yourself, because like I say, no clip works in survival. It's mainly if you get stuck or something like that, but you can use no clip to help you build, and it's immensely helpful. And then if we wanted to get rid of our mirroring and not have to see that little mirroring thing, we can just go over and hit our symmetry tool again and right click on that mirroring, so then we don't have to worry about it anymore. On a base, you don't really need to be constantly mirroring unless you're making like a house. So that stuff's gonna all process all that fun stuff. So press V again on your scanner, and this time we want to find CU, the copper vein. So let's see if there's anything closer. There's actually some closer ones right over here. So we're going to go to a copper vein next, and it's going to be a rinse and repeat process with the iron and copper. These are the first two things you're going to want to get. If you want, if you see these little crystals on the ground, you can collect these on the way. These are quartz crystals. We won't be able to process them until later, but this is how you make glass. Glass is made from these, or you can take 8 rocks, and 8 rocks will also make glass, make silicon ingot. And that's how you make glass pieces. So if you want on the way of your journeys, like if you just see one of these crystals nearby you, you can go ahead and mine it if you feel like it, just to get it out of the way, and you can store these in your cargo container and use them later when we get the thing you need to process them, because you can't process them in the normal crucible like we've been using. So here's the copper vein, and we got lucky. It's another one of those on the surface veins. So I'm going to go ahead and mine this up for a couple minutes. Just going to go ahead and get just a fair amount of copper, because we want about the same amount of copper as we ended up with iron. We ended up with 64 iron, so I want to end up with maybe 60 or so copper. So I'm just going to keep mining it. And since it's the surface vein, this will not take long. We're getting a lot of copper here. All right, I got about 60 copper, and I pretty much took this whole vein. So that was pretty crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and head back to the shipwreck. I might just go ahead and keep the fast move keys on for now. Like I say, I don't recommend you guys using these unless you were, you know, wanting to be that guy. Or if you're doing a tutorial like I am, and, you know, time matters, especially when your tutorial is upwards of 3 hours or more now. So we have a bunch of our iron processed. We're going to go ahead and grab all of that. And we'll grab what's left of the iron in this furnace and just take it out and put it all together in this furnace. And now we can start processing the copper in this one. So there we go. We got that. Now, there is 2 ways you can get iron ingot. Iron ingot comes from the iron ore, yes, but also it's a 1-to-1 trade-off with scrap too. So if you get a bunch of scrap, and then you can melt down the scrap and turn that also into iron ingot. That's something to note. That's the easier way to get iron ingot. And if you don't have an iron vein nearby, that is going to be the way you want to go. So yeah, that's something to note. I'm going to go ahead and scrap a little bit more of the ship. So of course this will be a cutaway, because I mean, you get the idea. You got to scrap the ship some, collect some scrap, make some blocks. We got to get that initial loop going to get the base filled out, so we can get to the stages where it's all automated, and then we can just, you know, go and do whatever we want while it's building stuff for us. So yeah, I will be back with you guys after I scrap the ship some more. All right, I went ahead and collected all that scrap, and I went ahead and made some more hull blocks. Got 50 hull blocks, and I put the rest in here into the furnace. But as you can see, we have ran out of coal, so we're gonna have to do another coal run. But we did get a lot of these different ingots made. Look at all these ingots. You got 66 and 28. So for now, to keep your weight down in your inventory, store anything you might not want in your inventory right now. We can even store the starter block, just keep the scrappy hull. And what we're going to need, lastly, now that we have the iron ingot and we have the copper ingot, we need more wood, because we need to be able to make wire. So the next thing you're going to want to do, gather up a bunch of wood. Get like 60 or 70 wood, and just I'll be back whenever I get that wood. Alright, I went ahead and got some more coal, and I got a bunch of wood here. 31, or 33 and 21 are 2 different types of wood, but it doesn't matter what type of wood you have. That just changes the appearance if you end up making wood blocks. So the first thing we're going to be making is your first movement upgrade to really help you get by. So you need 2 plate, 2 copper spool. You should have a little bit of plate left from when you made that before. So we can go ahead and bring our plate over. Go ahead and grab all of the materials you need and put them in your backpack. You're going to be overloaded, but you're just going to be here at the crafting bench, and we can transfer them over when you're done. So go ahead and make some copper spool. Go ahead and make like 10 of these, honestly, or maybe 12, because we're going to be using this a fair amount. And copper spool is always useful. You can never have enough of this stuff. Alright, let's go ahead and make a little bit more plate also, just to go ahead and have some in the inventory, because this will be something we also use a lot of. With plate, you make 2 of it with each time you craft one. And there we go. We have 28 plate and 13 copper spool now. So we're going to craft 1 hoverboard upgrade. Go ahead and craft that. And now open up your inventory, take your hoverboard upgrade, and put it in this movement slot, the locomotion slot. Now, since we are overweight, we're still really slow, but if you press P, your hoverboard's going to come out. Now you're going to see nothing's really going to be happening. You're just, you're floating around. But if you keep tapping W, that is how you accelerate with the hoverboard. As you can see, we are overweight right now. But now if I go ahead and hold shift and then transfer everything over, let's transfer everything out. And now this is our normal walk speed. And then this is with the hoverboard out. We tap W, we can just accelerate. Look at it. We can zoom all over the place. This is way better. This is your first movement option I highly recommend. There's also a scooter, but the scooter is way more temperamental and the hoverboard's just more fun in my opinion. You can ramp yourself off all kinds of things. We could ramp ourselves off the ship, do little fun tricks off of it if we actually get on a right angle. Play like you're Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Yeah, and do stuff like that. But there you go, your first movement option. There you go. And the hoverboard will disappear. You just press P to make the hoverboard go away. We'll go ahead and grab back all our items, hold shift, and then click them all again. We're just going to get everything. We don't need the quartz crystal right now, so that could just stay in there. So the next thing we need to craft is wind turbines. That's the next thing we need is power generation. So we need silver contact mesh and construction components. We need silver to be able to make our first power generation thing. So we actually will go ahead, put this all back, because we got to go find a silver vein. I forgot that you need silver for the wind turbine myself. So go ahead and take your hoverboard out. You have your new locomotion. And hit V to scan, and what you're looking for, the silver veins. I don't even know if I have a silver vein nearby. It might be pretty far. There's gold. Gold is kind of rare. Having gold nearby is pretty cool. It looks like I don't even have any silver nearby. Oh, right down there. Way far away. AG is what you want to look for. Okay, but you have the hoverboard now. So you can just absolutely zoom to the silver vein here. And we got an even better silver vein possibly down there, but we don't need much. So I'm just going to go ahead and dig down here and go ahead and grab some of this silver. We don't need very much. You just need probably like 20 silver. It's really not super important to get a huge amount of this because this is not a high priority resource. It's really only used for power generation things. So, for example, wiring or computers. So you're not going to be using silver nearly as much as the iron and the copper. Just in my personal opinion, in 700 or so hours of playing this game, I just don't see myself using silver all that much. And it's probably one of my lower used resources next to gold. Gold is probably one of my least used resources, but it is rare. And you do need it for certain things like the light cruise engines. So that should honestly be enough silver right there. We just have 13, but 13 will get the job done, honestly. So we're just going to get out of here because you don't want to make ourselves really overweight. And you can just get the hoverboard out again, help you get out of the hole even. And just ramp ourselves right out of the hole and then zoom on back. You just keep tapping W to keep accelerating. It's basically like the equivalent of pushing your foot on the ground, like you're Marty McFly. And if you just hold S, you can slow yourselves down. And then we can just go ahead and take this copper out. And we'll just go ahead and put the copper and replace it with the silver. And just hold shift there, and we just store the copper in there. I got some more coal that I could throw in here. Just let that silver process just a little bit. And if you're in your inventory and you hit this one right here, sort storage, it will automatically sort and make everything all organized for you if you ever end up with a little mess. So yeah, that's something to note. I will be back with you guys when some of this silver processes, and then we can go ahead and start making the wind turbines for your base. Alright, some time has passed, and look at that, we have 10 silver now, and a bunch more iron. So we're looking pretty good on all that stuff. Now, let's grab everything out of our inventory again. Leave that quartz in there, don't need it. And go back, and now we need to make silver contact mesh, which requires 2 silver ingot and an iron ingot. And we're going to use all the silver we've made so far to make this. There you go. Now we have 5 silver contact meshes. So go ahead and next make construction components. You need 4 of these to make 1 turbine. So let's go 4, 8, 12. Make 12 of these. You can actually make 16 because then we can make 1 more wind turbine when we'll have 4. 4 would be nice. If we wanted, we could actually make all 5. So we can make 5 wind turbines if I just make 4 more of these. Remember, it makes 2 each one. There you go. So now we can make 4 wind turbines. And we're going to get more silver contact mesh because we need to make an assembler too. But we have more silver melting down, so this won't be an issue. Alright. And now we have actually 5 wind turbines. I made 1 extra. I guess we had a little bit more than what we needed. So we can go ahead and put all that back so we aren't overweight. Eventually we'll get a storage container that will be a lot more perfect. Now the wind turbines, it doesn't matter how high up you put them, but I'd say put them kind of away from your build where they're out of the way. Doesn't really matter what you do. You just add a block line. If we wanted to keep this just 1 layer, just press R when we're on there. Just go ahead and stretch that out. Then we'll just go ahead and mount the turbine on there, and depending on, of course, the size, it will use more turbine. So if we use a 1-1, then we're going to make, so we can use 5. So we can go 2 there, 2 there. So it wouldn't be even though because we have 5. Don't need to know about that right now. I'm teaching you guys right now about it. So we're going to go down in scale to the smallest one. And we're just going to go ahead and use these. Now we can make 20 of them. So let's go ahead and do rows of 5. And that will allow us to make 4 rows of 5 of them. And they can be close together. And that's like I say, the thing about the wind turbines, see, they can even be phasing into each other. The thing about wind turbines is they require a base. You cannot build these on ships. I mean, they just don't work. You got to use solar panels or some other kind of method. We got that one a little bit on the close side. I mean, it doesn't really matter in the end. Like I say, these things could even be phasing through each other. But for my own OCD's sake. So there we go. Now we have power generation, and they're just going to pick up the wind on the planet. That's why you see them spinning and then they stop spinning. But what if we want to actually store power? Well, we can't make anything to do that right now. We have to make an assembler first, because now we have power, we can assemble things. We got to make the assembler next. So you're going to need a little bit more of your silver. We got 3 left here. And depending on how much silver you got, you might be a little bit more well off than me if you ended up getting some more. See, I actually need to go grab some more. I don't actually have enough now to make an assembler. I went a little too overboard. I thought I actually would have enough. So I'm going to cut away. I'll be right back. I gotta go grab some more silver, and then we can get our assembler made. Hopefully you didn't make the same mistake as me and got just a little bit more silver than I did. So I will be right back with you guys when I go get that silver. Alright, I got our other silver contact mesh made. That took a second. But I found a pretty good silver vein, so that worked out for me. Alright, we have the assembler made. This is an important step. This is going to be pretty much the device that makes everything in your playthrough. We're just going to go ahead and plop it right on front of our cargo crate. And then let's open up our assembler, and you're immediately going to see that you have now every recipe in the game, just like we saw in the crafting, like in the normal creative mode. Everything is here. So what we're going to want to look up first, the first thing we need is a arc furnace. So go ahead and add the arc furnace to your queue, and it will automatically add the things it needs to the queue. So what you're going to go ahead and do, add all of your items and materials into the assembler. It can hold up to 4,000, so it can work as a storage unit while it's processing things. So if you give it the raw resources, we have our silver here, and then we give it the silver ingot, it will make silver contact mesh if it has everything it needs. And we've already done the first step of automation. There it is. It's making everything we need. It will keep making plate. It'll make everything. As long as it has the resources, it'll keep building until it eventually can make the arc furnace. So we have that. We also want to make one more assembler. So go ahead and make another assembler. Just add that to the queue, and whenever it finishes with the arc furnace, it will make the assembler now. So it's really as simple as that. We can go ahead and get all those done. And for now, that's the main things you want to get. But one other very important thing we need to get, look up cell, and you're going to want to get 2, 3, just get 2 power cell bases and 4 batteries, the power cells, not the power cell smalls, but the normal size power cells. Get 3 of those, or 4 of those, excuse me. It already made one of them. And as it makes the stuff, it'll just add it to that inventory. You can hold shift and click it, and it will automatically just put that in your hand or put it in your backpack. And that will go ahead and make it. The power cell bases can be used to make multiple put multiple power cell batteries in. The reason we're doing this is we want to store that wind power in case the wind slows down. We're not going to lose power generation, and it will have like a fallback. You want to have that fallback, because without that, your arc furnace, when you place that, if the arc furnace and the assembler are both going, your power draw is just going to be too much. If you ever want to check your power draw and see if it's going over the threshold, press tab and go to that current entity menu, and this is your base stats. You can see the power that it's generating. It shows the power draw and the max percentage. Currently our assembler is like not even really consuming power, so it's perfect. It's great. But the arc furnace is a whole different story. But if you take out your link tool and you click on the wind turbines too, you can see their efficiency, see how much power they're putting out, and you can see your power balance. See, it's a 200% plus over on the power. But you can see as the wind gets slower, it changes the speeds. So now we have these bases, we have our power cells, and you can put them anywhere on the base because that's the rule of thumb. If something is on a base, it will just work power-wise. So we're just going to line up these 4 here, and we actually really only need 1 power cell base because we could actually make 4 of these with 1 power cell base. So the power will level out between all of these batteries, and it will store the electricity from these wind turbines until they all fill up. And you could charge up these batteries on your base and then insert them in a vehicle to charge up a vehicle if you don't have solar panels and you just have to charge manually. That is one way you could do it. So we're going to get all this silver ingot because I know it probably needs more of that. Give it to that. Yeah, see, it needs silver. If you ever see the process stop happening, that means you've ran out of a resource that it needs to keep moving forward. And you'll probably see that base thing that it needs over here on the right side. It will show like if it needs silver contact mesh or anything like that. So now we have a second assembler, and you can just go ahead and put this anywhere. You could be a little goofy with it and put it kind of sitting on top of something. So if you wanted to, you could literally just put it on top of the crafting bench. Like, I mean, for tutorial, I'm just doing a very basic base. I mean, a lot of people would, you know, take effort to design something. So on this one, this is going to be an assembler that's going to be dedicated to creating scrappy hull for you at all times. So open this advanced setting tab, and you're going to go push output to connected inventories and repeat queue endlessly. You want to turn that on. And then simply add scrappy hull to your design queue. And now as long as you have scrap inside the assembler or storage unit it's connected to, it will make scrappy hull constantly. So if I was to take the scrap out and then give this scrap to this assembler, it will automatically just immediately start making scrappy hull for us. And I don't have to go sit up and hold a button for however many seconds, and see how fast it makes it. So what if we want to store this scrappy hull? Well, it's finishing making our arc furnace, so now we can do just that. Look up storage container, storage unit, and makes 2 storage units. And then you're going to look up conveyor and just get the conveyor hose, because that is the easiest method to connect these two without you having to finagle around. So go ahead and let those storage containers build up. It should be pretty quick. You can grab your arc furnace and place it down too if you'd like. It is very large, so find a space that you'd like it. We're just going to put it right there. And the arc furnace only uses electricity to process, but the arc furnace is also what processes your quartz, and it can also process any ore at a much faster rate than this furnace, but it takes insane amounts of power and can flatline your power grid almost immediately. So look, now the arc furnace is going, and you're going to see, because we have 2 assemblers going and the arc furnace going, you're going to see the power draw is going to go up exponentially on my base. See, look at this. Power generator is 217. Power draw is 400. So look, all my batteries are getting sucked dry. The whole system cannot sustain itself. It's too much, and it's just sucking everything away. But look, we now made 3 silicon ingot. So this is why you want to expand that power grid as soon as possible. What we could do is use these power cell bases and make more batteries, and then just keep stacking that battery. So just make 4 more cells, because we have those bases, and one base can make 4 separate bases basically if you build a base block. So we'll just get all these power cells and go ahead and put the bases down while it's building these. Make sure that you're choosing the big base, not the small one, or else you're only going to be able to put small cells in. And then we'll just grab all of our batteries here. And go ahead and pop those in. Press F on these. And there you go. Now all the batteries will charge up. We got our conveyor and we have our storage unit. So the storage unit, we're just going to go ahead and put behind here. Like I say with the grids, the bigger the component grid, the better. So we're going to want to use the 1 meter grid. Then we can make 2 of them because of that. And then all you need is your little conveyor pipe here. You can connect it up wherever. It doesn't really matter. So we can connect it up, say, like right here. And you're going to see a little prong appear. You can hit F5, no clip yourself, and see that black prong appear. That means it's connected. And then you're just going to throw one on here. And now you can see that that is connected inside of that. So take out your link tool and just go ahead and pull that over. There you go. Now you are connected to the storage container. To confirm it, you can see number of connected tubes says 1 of 6 on the right side if you click with the link tool. And if you also go inside here, now look, all the scrappy coal automatically got thrown inside the storage container. And also you can see if you press transfer items here, you can now transfer things directly into your assembler. So for example, if I was to load up this storage container with a bunch of scrap, it would pull scrap out, process it, and then put the blocks back inside the storage container. So that is another step of automation that has been now done. And now we need to sustain the power grid. We need to make it much better than this because as you can see, this wind is just not going to cut it. You want to switch to solar power ASAP because it's really the only way you're going to want to expand. And the wind turbines are very a temporary solution. So let's look up solar. And solar is going to need silicon ingot. And this is why we needed the arc furnace, because you needed quartz. And the only way to get silicon ingot is from the arc furnace. So it was an essential step to make it to the solar panels, to sum it up. So let's go ahead and queue up 6 solar panels. And that is a fair amount, meaning we're going to have to get more quartz. But you don't necessarily need quartz. I have all these random rocks I've been throwing around. And rocks can also be processed inside the arc furnace and do the same thing as quartz. 8 rocks will make a silicon ingot, just like 2 quartz will make a silicon ingot. And there's a little guide up there at the top. It will show you. And I got to open up my backpack here. There he is. And I actually don't have enough rocks. I need more rocks. I thought there'd be more in that bundle. So basically, all you need to do, just hop on a hoverboard. You could go to any mining vein. So, I mean, you of course got to get more materials at some point, don't you? So just go to your favorite vein to mine at. Let's say we're just going to go to this iron vein. We want some more iron. And I'm just going to go ahead and dig down here and get a bunch of rocks along with the iron. All right, back at base, I got a bunch of rocks, a fair amount of rocks at least. You got to make sure the rocks are the same type if you want to turn it into silicon ingot. And like I say, you could process ore inside this arc furnace too. But look at this, our power generation is so abysmal, the arc furnace is the only thing running and the wind turbines can't even keep up. Our batteries are still just getting drained. So, like I say, that's something to note. We do have a little bit more silicon ingot here. We can go ahead and throw that in there, and that will begin making the solar panels. And you can also see it is processing this very quickly. The arc furnace it's very power hungry, but it processes things in like 3 times the speed of what that little furnace is going to do. And you also don't need a resource to be able to power it. And that's very good. So we're already getting some solar panels made here. As soon as I get a couple of solar panels, I'm immediately going to get these put on because you want to get that power generation stable as fast as possible. Then you can always use your arc furnace to process your ores and stuff. Because you can do the same method as what you did with the other items. So you could go and get a little conveyor tube here. and then connect a conveyor tube anywhere on the arc furnace. And now simply connect that with the link tool. And I know it's going to be a little wonky. It's like something we got to jump over now. I mean, we can just walk right through it, but I mean, for realism, you'd jump over it. Got our little rocks here. I'm just going to spit these out over here. Get them out of the way. But now our arc furnace is connected to the storage unit. So if we go into the advanced settings here, you can go automatic process of inventory and then turn on push output to connected and then pull needed components from connected. So now if I was to take all of this ore and then put the ore inside here, and then I go and jump start this. So you have to jump start it. So just take a little bit of whatever ore you want to process, throw it in, and now it's going to start pulling any of the ore it needs into this furnace. It will literally pull it in. Now there is a little hole in the front of the furnace. You can actually feed stuff into this. So if I was to throw an item at this hole, look, it's sucking them into the furnace. So you can do this where instead of just like inserting stuff, you can just feed stuff by throwing stuff at the furnace. So it's a pretty cool little thing. But you can see it is processing that iron very quickly. But our assembler, the poor thing, is struggling. We now have our solar panels though. So you can go ahead and mount those. You want to make sure you mount them kind of obstructed from the sun. We're just going to go ahead and mount them on this front edge here. Use the 1 meter panel because that's what we made. We can make 6 of them. So let's just make one big 6 panel. And you're immediately going to see our power generation is going to go way up. Look at that. Our batteries are immediately starting to all charge up now. And you can see the power that my solar panel is putting out is 4,000. Look at that. I have 1,200 more than what I need now. So that's all we need to do is just get that one solar panel. And now the wind turbines are pretty much useless to us. So it's just, that was how easy it was. And with this little setup right here, I know it looks a little, wonky and compact. This is all you need to basically get your ball rolling. Start collecting all the resources, process it up, get a bunch of ingot built up, build up as many resources as you can before you start working on your first ship. But I'm going to show you the next little mining technique. We're going to make a simple little mining ship, but it's going to literally just be a chair, a mining laser, some thrusters, the computer. It's the most basic thing. And you're just going to use your body to collect all the resources and then just go back and forth to base. So it'll be simple as that. So all you need to do is look up a seat, make one pilot seat, go ahead and look up joy, make a joystick, go ahead and get the spaceship computer, make one of those. Make some thrusters. Just make like 4, we'll say 6 thrusters. And then make a, what is the last thing we need? Oh yeah, mining laser. Make just 1 mining beam will do. And then you need an event gate. And that is really all that we're going to need. We could get some cell bases. So everything is, of course, going to be automatically crafted here. And what I could do is go get more scrap while it's building all of this stuff. So you can go do whatever you want while all this stuff is building. But that is all the essentials we'll need to get those power cells. And after you have all of that stuff built up, we can move on to the step of making that little miner. And we also have a solar panel that we have left we can throw on there. So I'm going to go ahead and keep scrapping this ship, build up some scrap so my scrap hull assembler can go ahead and get to work while we're doing everything else. You want to have your automation pretty much constantly going as to be the most efficient as possible if you really want to get yourself off the planet quick. And that's really all there is to it. So I'm going to go ahead and do some scrapping and then I will be right back with you guys after I've scrapped a little bit of coal and some of my items have been all made. All right, guys. So that last section, I ended up forgetting to hit record for like the last 35 minutes or so of me making that mining seat. So to not have to redo that whole process of getting all of the materials, then going through building all that, I have switched to my mainline survival playthrough. This is the one I'm currently doing for the channel, and we're gonna go ahead and make it here. So I'm gonna go over and make all those same parts that we needed. I'm gonna go ahead and queue up that stuff. So we need the seat. I might actually already have some of this stuff. Let me see if I already have some of this built, because I have a lot of parts already in this playthrough. Yeah, we have loads of different things here. So I'm just gonna get some things that I might need. Let me go ahead and grab some things I need, and I'll be right back with you. All right, a couple other things you're going to want to go ahead and build that I didn't mention in the last part is a construction anchor. And then also you want to build a gauge. So just look up GAU, make one of those gauges. So in total so far you should have a spaceship computer, an event gate, mining laser, some solar panels, power cells, the power cell bases, construction anchor, the pilot seat, and then you need some thrusters. And I might have some thrusters made. Let me just see while it's building this other stuff. I might not have any thrusters made. I have light cruise engine. Be nice if you could actually search inside the storage unit. But yeah, I don't seem to have any thrusters. So we could probably get away with just making like one or two thrusters. Because I went way overkill the last time. You don't need nearly as many thrusters as I recommended. I went way too overboard. So I'm going to let some of this stuff build up so we have all the essentials we need. And then we'll get started making a little mining chair to speed up your mining process to get the loop going nice and quick for you. Alright, we have everything we need now. The list of items you should have are scrappy hull, an event gate, a mining beam, solar panels, the power cell base, the seat, the joystick, a gauge, construction anchor, thrusters, and the spaceship computer, starter block, and then your 4 power cells. And that is everything you need to make this little mining chair we're going to make. So go ahead and find a little space to build, and we'll get started. Make sure you make it blue block, and we'll make it the smallest grid possible when it comes to the starter block. Go ahead and pull out some of our whole blocks, but we won't necessarily need them. Hit F5 to no clip if you want to make building much easier on yourself. Go ahead and get that seat placed right on top of the starter block. Now we are going to delete the starter block and immediately save this vessel what it is. Mining. Oh, I have caps lock on. Mining. Seat. If I can even spell right now. There we go. Mining seat. And it's literally just this chair. So what we're going to do is we're going to take little grid blocks on the bottom here. We're not going to worry about symmetry yet, but I'm just going to get some little grid blocks on the bottom, just going along this edge. Just get a little baseline. And we'll go ahead and stretch out those edges there. We could actually get mirroring on. It would probably help in this situation. So actually I will turn on mirroring, get your symmetry tool, and we'll go ahead and turn it on green since I've already committed to this. All right, that is right in the middle. Then what we're going to do, take this block on the back, get a little temporary mounting block right there. We can put our vent gate in right here. And then we're making this basically as compact as possible. Then we're going to get our mining lasers and simply take the mining laser and pull it all the way to the end there. And you can repeat this process for the second layer. You just use little wedges right there. And then get your mining laser, make it as small as possible, and then get that second layer. Now we can go ahead into this back of the seat. We'll get the Starship computer. Just put it right there. Now we will get a little mount for the joystick and the gauge. So what we could do here is get a little inverse pyramid. You'll want to get a mounting block and mount onto that. And just get a little inverse pyramid there. And then that will allow me to grab this inner bit, get another inverse pyramid going this way to get like a little step. And go ahead and bring up these edges right here. And we'll go ahead and just get a little triangle wedge there. Keep building it up until you get to about this point. And this should be pretty good. We'll go ahead and flatten that out. And get your joystick. Make sure that the red arrow is facing forward. Get in your seat. And you can go ahead and check it. It's not connected to anything, so you won't have to worry about anything bad happening. And look at that. That placement is good. Now our arm is kind of going through the right side, but does that really matter that much? And then you're going to get your gauge. Change your gauge to be the second option, though. It's important that it's the second option. All right. And now we're going to get our power cells all attached on here. So go ahead and make a little block line going back on each side. And we can go ahead and seal this in. Oh, there we go. Go ahead and seal that in. The event block is still accessible right there. We can go ahead and actually fully seal that if we wanted to. Oh, actually, no, I know what I'm going to do. Right here, we will have our lateral thruster. To make this as compact as possible. That will be very good. And then we'll go ahead and, as you can see, these power cell bases are kind of where the bulk of the size of the vessel is going to be. But what we can do here, get a mounting block on the back line. You just use a temporary big grid. And then we can switch and just put those right there. And it still put it on the other side even though I didn't have a block there. So that's cool. And then you can just kind of fill in these back edges. You could do it just like that. And then the construction anchor can live right in there. And if we want to make this have the thrusters on the back, could do a couple little thrusters right there. And then you do like a square set right here. Just do like a line. You can honestly just do this whole line here. You go in here, pull that through. Oh, we have it on the wrong mounting area. So we need to bring this up some. Just go ahead and put a block going across right there. So it's a little sunken in. Then you can take your little thruster block. You could make the circular ones if you want, or you could just do the thruster block like this. And we'll pull it out one. And that'll give us more speed. And we'll just go ahead and get a wedge on the back there. If you wanted, you could add some little aesthetic stuff here. Like just add some like little wedges and stuff. You don't need to necessarily add this stuff. It's all just aesthetics in the end. And then we go with a reverse inverse pyramid right here. Just like so. And right here, I mean, it doesn't really matter what we do. I could go with the reverse wedge and copy that other wedge and just do that. So now it's like a little air car. And if you wanted, you could just fill in these little gaps. That's actually where a thruster is. So we won't fill in that. Even though the thrusters can be covered, it doesn't matter if they are covered or not. They'll still function just the same. Go ahead and put a wedge here. And don't really need much else. Get some wedges going up this to just make it look aesthetically nice. Alright. You almost have everything you need now. Let's get our power cells in. So we got 4 power cells. There we go. And then we're just going to pop our solar panel on the back here. And I should be able, I can't get it lined up this way. So you can use the smaller grid to get it lined on the type of axis you want. So we can go 4 like that. And then you can switch to the triangle ones. And we can make it, so that would take 4 right there. So you just want to do like little 2s. And there you go. Now we have the solar panel on the back. And then once again, if you wanted to make this even more compact, if you wanted instead with the solar panel to give you even more compact build, go and mount the solar panel to the power cell base right here. And it's a little uneven. My OCD tells me that isn't allowed. So we can go ahead and do 6 there. And then you can get like some little prongs right there with a space in the middle for you to sit down. And the solar panels will work just the same. They will, even though they're blocked by the sun, they have an efficiency of 87 still. Because they're not actually blocked. So let's get everything all connected. This will be really simple. So when it comes to reading your power, connect from the power cell base to the gauge. And you're going to do this to all 4 power cells. Put all 4 of the power cell bases into this bar here. And this is going to give you a full power reading of your vessel. So you know when you're getting low power. Then you're going to pull your joystick and put it into your spaceship computer. Now pull from the joystick again, and you're going to go and put the joystick into the event gate. You're going to see the icon on the event gate change. Now pull from the event gate to the mining laser, hold shift, let go, and that will allow you to keep clicking and connecting to multiple things at once. So connect to all 4 of your mining lasers. Now you're going to go and connect this mining laser to all the others. Hold shift, connect this mining laser to that one and that one. So you have all 3 of the other mining lasers connected to this first one, but you're connecting from the first one. And that's very important, or else they won't combine together correctly. Then you could, of course, color this all up however you want. We want our mining lasers orange. We'll just make everything orange energy. Why not? It doesn't really matter too much. And you can see that bottom agility thruster is blocked, but it'll still work all just the same. There we go. Even go ahead and paint that seat orange. Paint everything orange. I mean, and this is up to personal preference. Paint the solar panel orange. There you go. And that's pretty much it. It's done. And I will show you how powerful this little guy is. So if you press F on your spaceship computer, you're going to see we have some crazy power when it comes to forward thrust, and then we have some good agility thrust. 50 is pretty nice. You don't want it to be really 100% because it's going to be really squirrely getting around. So get in your seat, hop in your mining, and then there you go. Look at this. Look at how fast this goes. And of course, you could add a little bit more agility thrusters if you want. I'm going to zoom around here. And I'm zooming so fast it's actually like lagging my game for a second right now. So it's pretty quick. So let's just go to this coal vein here and I'll give you an example of how cool this miner is. So we now just click, you're gonna see, so these beams, one of the beams is oddly not showing, but all four of them are still connected. That's just like a little visual bug. Probably just temporary for my session right now. But look how fast we can now mine out these deposits compared to before. And this works for scrapping ships, getting ore deposits, getting wood. And this stuff won't despawn for at least 120 seconds. So you can keep doing this. Just go ahead and get a nice bundle up here. Get it all in the big pile. And when you're ready to go, just simply get out of your seat, and since we have the construction anchor, this won't fall to the ground. And when you get out of your seat, all of the stuff will just get sucked up to you. You just hop back in your seat, and your player weight will not affect the vehicle's speed. So we're still just as fast as before, even though I now have way more in my inventory. And this is like the next upgrade after the hoverboard, basically, as you make the little mining thing. And I just find that this little mobile mining seat is probably the most efficient way to do it. I've never actually used this thing in my survival playthroughs, but it's something I actually just kind of thought of recently. I never even really thought of it before until kind of recently. Because usually you would go and make a full-on mining vehicle to go to space and all that, something enclosed, because of course this thing isn't enclosed and I will die if I go to space with this thing. Even with a helmet, I'm going to suffocate after a couple minutes because the air is going to run out in my helmet. But as you can see, our power on the bottom left there, you can see our power, and our power bar is about at half because we've been using this little miner a little bit. So we're going to go back over, and there's my main survival ship right there. That is the main one I've been using for our survival playthrough. So I hope this little miner helps you out. This little guy is very useful, and it's going to segue into my last little thing, which is going to be the shipyard and how the shipyard works. So I'm going to use the fast move keys to move around here because I am giga overloaded after getting all that ore, and I'm just going to throw all the ore in here, all the rocks and stuff. And of course, like my other systems on the other playthrough, it will pull everything and I'll automatically run it through my arc furnaces and stuff when it needs it. So go over to your assembler and type in shipyard. And you want to go ahead and build a shipyard. And the shipyard is going to connect to your base. Now currently my ship is connected to a shipyard right now, and I can kind of show you how this works. So you put your shipyard block down, and then after that you can connect in the conveyor tube, or like the conveyor hoses like I've been showing. This is a conveyor tube, and then it goes into a hose into my storage container. And this is the resources that it will pull to build something at your shipyard, how you spawn your blueprints in survival. So it's going to, as long as you have a conveyor pipe connected to the shipyard, it will be able to get resources. So let me take my ship I already have here and get it off the platform. We're just going to turn off my life support. Close up my little hatch. This is my survival vessel, the main one I used, and I love this little thing. This is called the Wolf Spider, and it's been a very fun vessel to use. This is something I spent a few hours building, and we're just gonna put it over here. Alright, so the Wolf Spider is off, and I will give you a rundown of how the shipyard works. So to decide and determine how big your shipyard is, you'll get your link tool out and you'll click on the shipyard and you're going to see this box appear. It'll be a very small box for you. And you take these little balls and you drag them to your defined spaces for the shipyard. So you choose how wide you want your shipyard, how long you want your shipyard, and you adjust all these settings to be able to build a big enough blueprint or whatever blueprint you're trying to build, because you can only build so big. And then you just press F on the shipyard and you're going to see all of the different options here. You can dismantle the current ship that you have docked inside the shipyard, so it will give you all your resources back and destroy your ship. You can spawn a saved ship, so that's the last thing you despawned at your shipyard. You can recover lost ships. This is something if you lose a ship on accident or something. Not previously saved ships, like if you forgot to save it or something. This is a way to bring it back. And then lastly, spawning an actual blueprint. So it'll take a second to load up if you have a lot of workshop stuff subscribed like me. But we just want to show this stuff. So look, there's our mining ship. So the mining seat, you can pin the required bricks. You can pin it right there on the left side. And it will only show it when you're in the shipyard menus, which is a little unfortunate. I hope in the future that changes. But it will show you a list of all the things you need. And if your shipyard base has everything it needs, then it will allow you to build the blueprint right here. And that's all you need to do. Make sure you collect all of the things on that list. You pin that little list. Just put it all in your storage unit. And after it has everything, it will allow you to build it as long as it's big enough. And we're going to go into one other important thing. So the other way to put something on your base, and this is the way that you're going to be refueling too, is you use docking ports. So we're going to go ahead and make a docking port. I'll show you this. So go in here, docking port, and just make a couple docking connectors. Make 2 of those, and you don't need anything else, just docking connectors. And then place 1 docking connector on your base connected to a pipe, like an actual pipe, not a conveyor pipe, but an actual like fluid pipe. And then it makes sure that the docking connector is the same size. Connect one onto your ship and make sure that this one on your ship is connected to a pipe that is connected to your fuel tanks. So wherever your fuel tanks on the vessel may be, for my ship here, I have the fuel tanks embedded on these sides. I just open up these doors and my fuel tanks are in there. So that would be needing to be connected. And when you make a fuel farm, which I'm about to go over the fuel farm, how you get hydrogen fuel to be able to power your light cruise engines, you're going to need to dock onto your base with that docking port and then get the fuel transferred that way. So I'm going to show you how that works real quick. We're going to go over here, press R until you end up with your base, because you're going to need to press it a few times depending on how many things are around you. And just keep going until your base shows up as one of the options. Alright, I got locked onto my base. That took a second. So when you're locked onto the base and you have a docking port that is the same size on your base as on your ship, it has to be that same size. then you can press request docking if you press F, you know, the interaction menu, like if you were to get out of your ship. So then fly closer to your base and it automatically, autopilot will take over and it will automatically dock you to your base. So as you can see here, it's automatically lining it all up and that's going to just dock us on the base. And give it a second. There it goes. You heard the click and it is docked. And now I'm going to show you how you transfer the fuel if you have fuel already made, which I will show you the process on how to make it here in just a moment. All right. So go down to your docking ports, click F on this docking port, and you're going to want to create new push filter and then just put fluid, look for fluid on here, and then just have it set to any. And then interact with the other docking port, press F on it, and then you're going to want to pull instead of push. So get a pull filter, fluid, any type. And there you go. What it's automatically going to do then when you dock up to your base, and if you have fuel stored in the tanks, it's going to automatically refuel your ship. And that is the main way to fuel. Now I'm going to show you how do you make fuel. So this is a fun one, and you actually need water to do this. And for this survival playthrough, I had to do this in a very convoluted way. So what you're going to need to look up is electrolyzer. It's right here. So electrolyzer. You need to make one of these. Just make one because they are a power hungry beast. You really don't need more than one. And then you're going to want to make some tanks. So make tank. Make some of these tanks. And then you want to make a fluid harvester. You want to make sure you get this. Fluid harvester. This is very important. Won't work without the fluid harvester. So you get the fluid harvester, the tank, and the electrolyzer. And then you need a pipe or a hose of some sort. We're just going to use those hoses, those stretchy hoses that I've been showing off throughout our time. So you just have your little hoses here, the stretchy hoses. And that's really all you need. And then you can totally make a setup. So I don't have any water nearby me, and I'm going to show you how far away it is. That's how far away my actual water source is. So, well, I thought of an insane idea, and I don't recommend doing this. I would suggest trying to get to a water source in a better way than what I've done here. But it shows you that this is a possible way, and I'm about to show you. It's a little wacky. I basically made a pipe to the center of this planet because the core of all the planets in this game are water. So if I go down this giant hole I mined, and we just keep going down and down and down, and you're just gonna see I went all the way to the center of the planet. This took a long time, guys. This is not something I recommend doing. And I went all the way to the center of the planet, and all you have to do is just put that fluid harvester on the end of the pipe, and then just set it to harvest water by just pressing F on it. And then it will pull water up your pipe, and of course, hopefully you started closer to water because you need water to make fuel. It's necessary. So you need to get to water somehow. Either make a really long pipe from your base all the way to a water source, or you can use the stretchy pipes. And then you got to bring the water up through your pipe. It's just going to automatically come through the pipe through the fluid harvester. And then all you have to do is let it store inside of a temporary tank. Just let it store in a small temporary tank. Just a tiny one is fine. And then what you're going to do is you connect up your hose or your pipe straight from that water tank into the electrolyzer that you've placed. The electrolyzer is extremely power hungry. I have 4 of them here. I would only recommend doing the one. So now from the electrolyzer, it will make oxygen and hydrogen fuel from water. So it'll take the water, it will process the water, and you can see if it's processing by clicking on with the link tool. It'll show the water stored, the hydrogen stored, and the oxygen stored. And then you connect another pipe to the side of the electrolyzer. It doesn't matter where, as long as it's connected and you can see the black prong show up, then you know it's connected properly. Or if you see that it's just going to be properly connected with those prongs, that's really the best way. And you're going to want to connect those pipes into a different fuel tank that will store all your hydrogen fuel. And you can make this however big you want. You can make a giant tank if you want. You could use these glass tanks if you actually want to see your fuel level. And then going from that tank, we have a pipe connected from this fuel tank here all the way to the docking port. And that is how we're refueling our vessel. I just have it routed because pipes, just like conveyors, can go right through blocks. You can phase them through blocks and put them inside. So see, that pipe routes all the way over, and then it just goes right into the docking port. And then the docking port feeds the fuel in. So you might be asking me, what am I doing with the oxygen? Well, nothing. I'm not even taking the oxygen from this. You don't even have to have any tanks set up to store the oxygen. You just take the hydrogen. Because we're already on a breathable planet, and really you only need the oxygen if you're on a moon or a planet that isn't breathable. Because what you could do, you take the fluid harvester like we made to suck up the water, and you make another fluid harvester and you put it on your vessel and you connect it to oxygen tanks. So I have oxygen tanks right here, and then I have a fluid harvester, and you set up the fluid harvester to suck up oxygen. So when you're on a breathable planet or moon, it will automatically top off your life support oxygen tanks when you're there, and you don't even need to be refueling it. And it lasts a long time, so really there's no other needs to do anything other than just using that fluid harvester. So yeah, really that's all there is to it for the refueling. But that fuel is going to be useless to you if you can't go into light cruise, can you? So I got to show you one last thing, and it will be the final thing for this part of the survival tutorial before we go and segue into combat. So I'm going to take this ship right here that's already sealed. I'm going to go up to space, and you want to go and fly yourself. You won't have light cruise, so you're going to fly yourself to this asteroid belt the hard way. But you got to make sure you have a sealed vessel. It has to be fully sealed, and you have to put a life support. Just make a life support and throw it in your vessel anywhere. You don't need oxygen tanks. The life support itself comes with about 2 hours worth of oxygen in it. And I'm talking 2 hours of real life time. So you just need the life support, and you need a sealed vessel. To confirm it's sealed, you can click on the life support with the link tool, and you're going to see all these balls fly around, and it will confirm if it is nominal or not. It will show you if it's a stable environment. You're going to see it is going to go nominal. There we go. And then I'm just going to go ahead and undock here, and you need to fly to space. So for your first time flying to space, it takes a little bit, depending on how fast your first vessel is. Make sure you also craft a helmet, which you just need some glass, and you can just easily craft a helmet before you leave. You need that helmet in case anything happens, depressurization, so you don't just die instantly. So go ahead and fly up. I already have light cruise installed, so I'm literally just going to use my light cruise to fly into the asteroid field. Save us a good few minutes and make it where I don't have to cut away. So we're just going to fly up to this asteroid field. And like I say, this is probably going to take a good 10 minutes in any normal survival playthrough, because you will not have light cruise yet. So you're going to have to do this the hard way, unless your vessel is super fast. And you're just going to make your way to any random asteroid. Just look for something that looks juicy, probably a bigger one like this. And make sure you have a mining laser. Like, that's why it's preferable you use something like that mining vessel that we created in the other section of this video. So you're going to go up to the asteroid, and then we're going to use V on our scanner. And with V, you're going to look for yellow or golden rocks that are going to show up on the scanner. And there's one right there. They don't show until you're pretty close. All right, so we're going to get a little bit closer to this. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my collector, which if you're using that basic mining ship that we created in the last playthrough, if you ended up getting the resources and spawning it with the shipyard, this will be a much easier task. And you're going to want to get these yellow stones. They're called sunstones. So go ahead and collect all those up. And just keep pressing V on your scanner. Like I say, the distance that you can see them is pretty close. You can sometimes just visually see them. You'll see a golden thing on the asteroid. And you're just basically going to want to collect a few of these. And collect probably like a good fair amount. You might have to go to a few asteroids to get all the ones you need. So I'd say like over 20 sunstones would be a good idea. Something around there. So you can see, oh, look at that. We find a nice little field of them. And depending on your world seed, of course, your spawn rate for resources is different. So you might end up having way more or way less sunstone, depending on the asteroid that you're on. You can see there's a lot of sunstone here. And I actually kind of need sunstone for my main survival playthrough, so we're kind of like basically playing an episode of my survival playthrough right now. But I'm just going to get a couple more sunstone here, and then we're going to go back planet side, and I will show you how to craft all that stuff. Now, one important thing I don't think I mentioned in this video yet, and I don't think I hope that we'll be okay. But I never explained the whole you should put an antenna on your base before you go to orbit thing. Because for this survival playthrough, I of course already had an antenna. I can see my base right there. Being that I talked about the antenna in that part that I forgot to hit record on, that I'm basically redoing with this video portion. And I just realized I forgot to mention it in this portion, so hopefully you didn't just lose your base. If so, there is actually a cheaty teleport way to get back to your base, even if you don't have the antenna. Oh god, a little too fast. Came in a little hot there. Oh god, we're stuck in the ground. What have I done? Get me out. Get me out. Squeeze myself out with light cruise. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'll kind of show you the cheaty method. Press the F1 key if you end up getting too far away. Teleport to any ship and activate that. Now press tab. Well, tab when you're not controlling your vessel. So get out of your control of your vessel. And what you can do after we're out of the seat, I can press, oh god, what is it? Tab. I forgot the key for a second. Just press tab, and you go here to teleport, and you're going to see here, it's actually going to have a list of everything. It will let you spawn back at that little mining seat thing we made. See? That little mining vessel that we made. If you have any kind of entities anywhere that you built, you can teleport yourself back to it, and that's the cheaty way. It's not usually gonna allow you to do that, but if you never put the antenna on your base, that will save you from that hell of trying to find it again. Now I need to teleport myself back to the wolf spider because we don't want to leave it up here. And we'll go back down to base, and I'll be right back with you guys when I'm at base. All right, back at base. So let me go ahead and get those sunstones out. And sunstones don't need to be processed at all. You can just use the raw ingredient to make the light cruise engine. And this is also how you make the gravity unit. If you're in space, you'll float around in your vessel if you don't have the gravity unit. So I would suggest making a gravity unit, one gravity unit, and then make some light cruise engines with whatever you have left when it comes to your sunstone, because those are the only two things you're going to use sunstone for. You're also going to need cobalt and gold if you want to make light cruise engines, the graviton rings. So to sum it up, what you're going to do is you're going to, of course, look for cobalt deposits. They're the blue deposits you will find around the world. I actually needed sunstone, so this journey ended up being useful for me. But you will need cobalt. You'll find it on the planet. It's somewhere. There is some right there. But yeah, you'll find it. It's a little bit rare, but you'll need to find some cobalt. Go ahead and mine that. If you got your new mining seat, it's going to be real easy to go find some cobalt. You can just keep flying around, scanning. Use that to get yourself to it. I mean, if you felt a little ballsy, you could probably put a helmet on and zoom with the seat and maybe get to the asteroids, but I mean, it would be cutting it close. You might choke to death. So I would suggest having a sealed vessel. But anyway, now that you have the light cruise, you just put your light cruise engines on. Make sure the light cruise engines are connected to the fuel lines, just like I showed in the tutorial, the basic ship build tutorial earlier in the video. And yeah, then you have a fully light cruise capable ship. And after that, you are about ready to spread your wings. We just got to go through one last thing, and that's combat. And that will be in a different chapter all by itself. But overall, you're ready. You're ready to go to space. Your next goal is gonna be take your ship, and you're gonna want to make your way. As soon as you have all the resources you want, you have everything collected on you. Make sure you probably bring a storage unit on your ship and bring all your resources with you. And then as long as you're controlling a ship, you can press H here and open the core map. And of course, like I've said before, this wide galaxy is there to explore. All of these places you see here are all accessible. You can go everywhere. We're right here. And then go to your system map, and you're going to look for this right here, Sun Wukong Space Portal. This is your ultimate goal. You want to get to the space portal to warp yourself to the other system, because this is going to be where you're going to get your warp pearls, like void pearls for doing warps to different systems. This is also where you're going to get shield shards to make shields for your vessel. And this is also the reliable place to get weapon shards for your vessel. Now, you can get weapon shards in this system. There's only one place that has the weapon shards. It is this moon right here, Delio Delta 2. And if you're flying past this planet, it will be the furthest one away from this planet. Away from this planet. This furthest one that doesn't have a ring, there is weapon shards here. Because there is a pirate that guards this gate, the space portal. And he will immediately try to kill you when you try to go to the space portal. So unless you have a really fast ship and you're good at running away and getting right through the portal, or if you go get the weapons and fight him, you're not getting through that gate unless you die. That's basically all there is to it. So yeah, that is really all there is for the going to the to survival. I mean, there's a little bit after you go through the gate, the void pearls and the shield shards, and I might glaze over those real fast because they're very minor things. The warp core stuff is very easy to set up. And then one other thing I'm going to go over is the gas cloud refueling. If you have a fluid harvester on your vessel, just like I showed you those fluid harvesters before, and connect a pipe from that fluid harvester into your hydrogen fuel tanks, and then simply fly into one of these gas clouds, mark it as your target, and light cruise there. It will suck up the hydrogen gas, the gas from the sun, and it will refuel your vessel, refuel your tank. So you don't even need the water and all that stuff, the fuel farm on a planet anymore. After you've stretched your wings out to space, you can just refuel at gas clouds for pretty much the rest of your playthrough, because every star system you go to will at least have a couple gas clouds. And as long as you have enough fuel to get to the gas cloud, you'll be fine. There's also fueling centers where you can buy fuel with your actual money that you earn from doing missions, or you can sell your own fuel that you make if you want to just make some extra credits. And really, that's it for the loop, what you should be doing, working your way towards. And then I'm just going to touch a couple other things, and that will be absolutely it for the survival tutorial, I'd say. I've pretty much covered all the bases except for the Void Pearl, the weapon shards, and the shield shards. I mean, missions are self-explanatory. They're procedurally generated, and every once in a while you're going to see missions pop up. There'll be little question marks in the sky, and you just tap R to switch your lock on while you're in your ship, just like I showed with locking onto your base, and you toggle to the mission. Either that, or you can go in here to that mission tab. If you have any available missions, you'll have a mission tab that will show up there, and you can just simply accept the mission from there and autopilot to it with light cruise. Now, they're usually going to consist of saving someone, giving them some O2 from your tanks, which you can just do wirelessly. You don't need to dock to them or anything. Or you're going to have to defend them from a pirate, and that means that the mission is going to consist of combat, and you will be expected to fight. One thing to note about the pirates will chase you through the solar system. They won't chase you through warp gates or anything like to a different system. But if you go and make a pirate angry, you aggro him, and you light cruise out, even if you come back to this home planet, he will chase you down. He'll be like Liam Neeson. He will find you and he will kill you, because I've learned the hard way many times. The pirates are pretty ruthless. They are pretty ruthless. So don't take the wrong mission. That's all I gotta say. learning from experience. Yeah. Don't do that. Anyway, I hope the survival guide has helped you out, and that's really it. That's all there is to it. I mean, the void pearls and the shield shards, all that stuff, very self-explanatory. And the weapon shards, shield shards, and void pearls, I'll just cover in the combat tutorial, because that kind of all goes together. The void pearls, maybe not so much, but you get the same materials all from the same place, basically. So, yeah. Until the next chapter. So, alright. On to the next chapter, guys. Combat. We're almost to the end of this video now. Man, it's a slog. I think I've gone through, what, almost 3 hours now? This is going to be quite the video. I bet the processing time on Resolve is going to be long. This is going to be one of those I'm going to be processing for like 5 hours. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next chapter. Alright, so here's the portal. This is our starter system. The portal you gotta go through is protected by a pirate. And the only way we're going to get past the pirate and get out of the system is by getting weapon shards. And he's a little bit of a daunting target. I mean, you could just race past him, but what we're going to need to do to get out of here is you got to go to a specific moon in this system. It's the only way you're going to really get the weapon shards that you need to either fight him or race past him. So I'm going to show you the galaxy map here. The warp gate is going to take you to the Mason system. You see this line that's going between? All right, so this is heat. And I want to go over this a little bit. Depending on how many components you have and how much whole parts you have, it's going to depend on your heat level. Now, your heat level, if you have too many components on your craft, to sum it up, and your block count is too low, your heat level is going to be high. If you shoot your weapons a lot, you're basically going to overheat quicker and the enemy's doing more damage to you. Basically, that's how this heat works. You got to reference these percentages to balance your heat on your craft if you're going to be making something more combat oriented. It's really the only option you got. So you got to go ahead and try to balance those numbers, get that heat percentage down. I'm using the gnome here by Naj77. So right here is all the barrels, and you have a few different options. They can only be combined to the laser weapon, not the beam weapon. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown of these. The beam weapon is for your shields. The laser weapon is for everything else, and you can put these attachments on it. The cooling barrel is going to help keep your heat down, and you won't have to deal with heat becoming so much of a problem when you're shooting your weapons like crazy. Then you have the recoil barrel, which is right next to it. But the cooling barrel is definitely going to help you balance the heat out, depending on if you have a really high heat system. The recoil barrel here is straight up like an artillery cannon. You're going to shoot huge shots way less often, but they are very high damage shots. The recoil barrel is pretty mean, and Gatling barrel, pretty self-explanatory. It is literally just a machine gun barrel. Really bad spread, but shoots extremely fast and does good damage. Great for a good DPS. So yeah, they can only get attached to the laser weapon. Know that. The beam weapon is made for shields and shields only. You can't put attachments on it. So just make sure you're putting attachments on the laser weapon. That is really important. The first one there out of the barrels was the range barrel, and the range barrel just gives you longer range shots that are more precise. I didn't go over that one as much. All right, so we have a list of all the barrels here in front of me. Those four on the bottom here are not available in survival, so I'm not going to cover these green add-ons because I don't really know much about them myself. So we're just going to focus on the barrels. So here's a live combat scenario, and I get cooked in this, absolutely destroyed. You're going to see at the bottom right there, that pink bar is the enemy's shields. I use those laser weapons there to try to take down his shields. I do have an auto turret trying to shoot him too. And then his health bar is the green, and his power is the blue, of course. And you can see his weapon power at the bottom right there. It is 308. It is really high. And this is just a pirate in the starting system from a little mission. So you got to be extremely careful because these pirates can absolutely cook you. I'm not really that great in combat, as you can see. I miss a lot of my shield shots and everything. Combat, you really got to get used to it. And I was using my keyboard mouse, and I'm a little bit better with controller when it comes to combat. But I almost get his shields here, but I keep getting a little too cocky in this fight, and just he fries me. It just doesn't go well. If you couldn't tell already, I lost the audio for these recordings, and that's why I've been doing a voiceover. So it might be a little off sync for some of this. Anyway, as you say, I got cooked. So combat, be very cautious with it. All right. So got the rundown of the weapon power here. And then going into the system, you can see if you turn on the factions there on the left, look in the outer rim. You see all those boxes? Those are pirate controlled areas of the galaxy. If you want a lot of combat scenarios, if you want to go take down pirate fortresses, which are big bases, and you can actually change the control of the pirates here to your control. You basically free the pirates, free the galaxy from the pirates, but you have reputation with them, and the more you kill of them, the more they hate you, and the stronger enemies they're going to send after you, like bounty hunters and stuff. But if you want combat, go to the outer rim here to these systems inside these boxes, because you're going to get more. If you go towards the galactic center, you're going to get way more of just the exploration experience, while you're going to get all the combat here on these outer edges. They're all in the outer rim. Because I noticed as I was getting closer to this galactic core, there was far less combat scenarios. It was a lot more of a peaceful galaxy out there. And there's some fun places to explore. I made it pretty close to the center where I have my mouse pointed. That's kind of where I made it in my last survival playthrough before I lost my save. It got messed up when I had to factory restore my PC, and Steam doesn't upload the stuff to the cloud. So here's a rundown of the Mason system. This is the system that you see when you go through the warp gate. Everybody goes to the system after you've gone to the starting system, because this is the only place that's going to have the void pearls and the shield shards that are necessary to move forward. When you go through the gate, you're going to start over by this gas giant. All the planets in the system are gas giants. You only have the moons to land on. This middle moon here, Wurgle 1, this is where you want to go. You can use this storehouse as an autopilot checkpoint to get there and then fly to the moon. And your shield shards and void pearls, it's all there. So you just go and fly here. And look at that. There's the void pearl. Grab some of these void pearls. Something to note about the void pearls, they have to be put in a special void pearl storage, or you cannot warp with them. They can go through the warp gate, like the little gates, but there's only one connecting gate. But when it comes to actually warping freely out of a system with your warp drive, they have to be stored. So I'm going to show you how the warp core is set up. You go ahead and put down your warp core, whatever size you want, whatever materials you have. You need the sunstone to make warp cores, so make sure you get plenty of sunstone for light cruise engines and warp cores. Then you put this void pearl storage right on top of the warp core. There'll be a hole slot, and depending on how big you make your warp core, there's going to be more hole slots for you to put the void pearl storage. And depending on how many void pearls you have and how big you made the warp core, that determines how far you can travel with your warp drive, how many light years away. So I'm going to make a couple examples here, and I'll show you, see all the holes that we have here now. And you could expand that as much as you have space in your ship, to sum it up. And then you just press F and interact with the warp core to load in the void pearls. And you got to make sure that any excess void pearls you have in your inventory after you're done loading these, you got to throw them out of your inventory. You cannot keep them and go back. The only thing you could go through is the warp gate. You wouldn't be able to go and warp out like to a system by yourself. It will just keep giving you an error saying you have void pearls and you can't. So you're going to want to go ahead and make that warp core, get all these void pearl storages on here. And you're going to see if you have a big pearl, it will automatically divide the pearl out into smaller pearls and load it up. Because you can see my inventory there on my toolbar doesn't really get fully unloaded from the void pearls. It's just splitting the big one down. See how big the other ones are compared to those small ones sitting there? Now I'm going to give you a rundown of the shield. So the shield shards, they look just like sunstone, just they're icy blue. And I mean, you're going to see them on this moon too. You might end up seeing him in the background. I don't showcase him in this video. I think there's just one little scene when I'm looking at the void pearls at the start that you look at them. But you get the shields, and then you make capacitors, the same thing that goes into the reactor to increase the reactor power. You can increase your shield capacity and how powerful the shield is by adding these capacitors. And you can make them as long as you want, up to 16. 16 blocks out is pretty much the limit for anything in this game. All right, welcome to the tips chapter. The first one on the list is about pipes and transfer rates. So I got 3 setups here, and I'm going to show you how you can efficiently raise your transfer rate way higher. So we're here in a gas cloud, and I have a fluid harvester. The first one is 2 pipes connecting, and they're just going, and both of them are connecting into the tank. So we're going to see the transfer rate on this one. I'm going to change it to start bringing in. So we'll start bringing in hydrogen and just look at the fluid level, how fast it fills. And you'll kind of watch it there. And this would be a pretty good rate to be filling it up, but it can be better. So you don't necessarily need the 2 pipes. So let me show you the second method next. So the second method here is we have 1 pipe coming out of the fluid harvester, then it goes up and then it splits into 2 pipes, and there's 2 connections. Will this be any faster? Well, let's see. No, it's actually slower. See? So it's actually less efficient. Oh, click on it again. But as you can see, it is less efficient. It is not as efficient because there's only 1 connection here on the fluid harvester. So it's still the same transfer rate. Okay. Well, what if we do it this third way? This way is a splitter with 2 pipe connections. Then you go through 1 pipe, and then you have 2 connections here. All right, so how fast is this one going to go? And there you go. You'll see as we update here. Way quicker. Way quicker. It is about equal to the speed of 2 pipes. It's about the same exact equal speed. So 1 and 3 are the same, but you use 2 full pipes for this one. This one, it's simply got a splitter right here. And you could stack this. So you could go and add a third one here, add a third one here. And now instead of harvesting, I'm going to spit it all out. So let me go ahead and do this. Now we're going to spit it out. And you're going to see that the spit out rate is also going to get buffed, because it buffs the transfer going both ways. And like I say, you can infinitely stack this, and we could basically just keep stacking this as long as the connection points are equal on both sides and you have enough connection points left on your main thing, then you're good to go. So now we have 3 going on each of these. So there's 3 transfer points. Basically what I'm saying is the pipe can handle as much fuel as you want, as long as you just have a bunch of connection points on each end. To sum it up, that is how this works. And then just change it to harvest. Now you're going to see it's really going to fill it up fast. Let's just open up the fuel menu. You can see a little bit easier. It's not actually updating. It's being a little weird. It might be coming in so fast it's not even updating. So actually it might have a limit to how far you can expand it. I mean, it's transferring really quick, but I don't know if I notice a visible difference necessarily. There might be a certain limit to it, but anyway, this is the most efficient way to go. And that's the first tip. And this is one I recently learned. Nash77 in the Discord is the one that taught me this. And it's a cool little trick. This works for conveyor pipes too. And it also works for the hoses, like the stretchy hoses. So you can do this method for all of those things. So if you want to transfer items faster with your storage and stuff, you can do that too. And also, that segues into my second tip. You need some fuel out there in the galaxy and you're on your travels? Well, every single star system you go to in this wide galaxy is going to have a star. And they have gas clouds. And if you go ahead and target those gas clouds when you're getting low on fuel, and then you go ahead and just simply throw a fluid harvester, just like we did on this example over here. You throw on a fluid harvester and you set it to harvest hydrogen. And then you connect that directly to your fuel tanks. I just have it connected with some glow lines. This is one of the first ships I ever made in this game. And you just connect into your fuel tanks, and there you go. It will harvest the fuel from these gas clouds when you fly through it and just sit in there. And you can just use this as an infinite refueling method, so you don't have to go and use an electrolyzer on a planet or a moon, get it from a water source, like, or go buy fuel. You could go and refill the fuel and then go sell the fuel as a fueling station, so you can make fuel runs and make extra cash that way. But yeah, that is basically the second tip. Is, yeah, just use gas clouds if you need to refuel. After you've gotten off the starter planet, there is no need to really do base gas stations anymore unless you just feel like it. It's really not super necessary. And then I'll go into my third tip. All right, third tip. This might be a little bit of a somewhat obvious one, but some people might not know about this. So, I didn't realize until about last month that the furnaces are not the only way you can melt any ore in this game. And I know this might be a little bit obvious, but if you use the arc furnace instead to melt all of your ores, instead of be using those small furnaces, you will get the ores melted in 3 times the speed. It'll be way quicker. But the arc furnaces are power hungry. But as you can also see, I got an arc furnace built directly into my ship. It's really cool. I actually have the exhaust port for the arc furnace coming out the bottom so the smoke doesn't go inside the ship. Very cool. But yeah, use the arc furnace instead of those normal furnaces. Solar grids are probably the most efficient power source in the game. If you make a big enough solar grid, you could run a bunch of arc furnaces on like a mobile based ship and really process ore quick. If you just make your collector system feed directly into your storage and then have your furnace connected to the storage, it will automatically process all of that ore and melt it down as you're mining it in the system. Making a mobile base is probably, that's honestly the next tip. When you want to make your main ship to leave the starting system, make a mobile base. Don't settle for just a combat ship or a little miner. Make something where you are going to bring your entire self with you. You're bringing all of your playthrough with you, to sum it up. All of your stuff from your home base. Because in reality, you are never going back to that home base. The galaxy's so fast, you're never even going to probably find this system again. So get everything you own. Get an assembler on your ship. Get all the conveyors all set up. Have storage, big storage units on the ship. Make a docking bay for your little mini miner. Do whatever you got to do, but make a mobile base, because you'll love yourself for it. And also do not forget to put a med bay on your base, because the med bay is your spawn point when you scan. So if you die or if you get separated from your ship somehow, some kind of bug happens, you can get back by just simply spawning back at your med bay. So yeah, that's the next tip. Make a mobile base. That is really the best thing you can do before you leave the starting system. You'll need a little bit more resources, but it is very worth it. and it will make your journeys a lot more fun because it's like you're doing a mobile home. Like it feels like an RV travel across the galaxy. You're doing like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, doing some Spaceballs type stuff. So yeah, that's really that tip. And then on to the next one. All right, time for the next tip. This is going to have to do with being on stations. So, if you make a bunch of decorations in survival, now the decorations would be any of the beveling things you basically just use ironing it for. So, if you use any kind of beveling, the pipe covers, like the covers for any of the pipes, these things, and then also the vent cover, any of these decorations, if you make boatloads of them, which they're very cheap to make, you get loads of them for making them, you can make enormous amounts of cash. So the covers, and there's certain values for everything, and the amount you get is absolutely insane. So since I'm in creative, you can't see the actual values. But if you sell your decoration pieces to the vendors, you can make hundreds of thousands of credits instantly. It's kind of like the easy money glitch in a way. So yeah, make a bunch of decorations, resell them at the stations, and then you can make whatever you want. I mean, you can get loads of boatloads of cash, and then you can just simply go to the shipyard and you could buy a blueprint if you wanted to, because the you can buy blueprints from these stations that actually have a shipyard to them. You can go here and you can actually use your money to buy anything that you have in your blueprint set. So if you go and sell a bunch of those decorations, you can see you don't need the resources here. If you have a bunch of money, you could simply flat out buy one of the ships here. And a lot of these ships are pretty dang affordable. I mean, you're going to get into the crazy numbers when you get into something really large. Some of these are like $10 million. But yeah, you know what I mean. And you can go ahead, sell a bunch of those decorations, and you could buy a workshop ship if you want to use a workshop ship in survival the easy way. That is a nice tip, I'd say. You can really do that for anything you build. Just resell stuff you don't need and make a bunch of cash, because the economy system is a little cheesy in this game. You can take advantage of it. Just saying, you can take advantage of the economy pretty easily in this game. So yeah, go ahead and try that. All right. So I don't know if I could really consider this a tip, but it's something that a lot of people don't seem to notice. The monitors, you can use them to make your own custom text for different things in your ship or your base. The third option on the monitor is actually the screen. That's what this thing is. And you could put down the screen. I gotta probably make a starter block here. Make a starter block. And if you put the screen on something, you can write on it and you can make it say whatever you want. This is how people make custom HUDs and stuff for cool ships. But as you're holding down to stretch the screen, this is the important note. You see how the X arrow is facing away from me? That's how you want it. You do not want the X arrow facing you. You don't want that, or else your text will be backwards. Your screen is backwards, if so. So whatever you write in there, you're going to see that it is way off the screen. So reference, you see that little side pad there, right here. This shows you where it's going to be if you just use enter to keep shifting down the text. And you could also change the font size. This will change where it's shifted to. So we could go down to 10. And I can't move the window out of the way, but you have to shift it down to where it would be on the screen, and you want it generally kind of on this side, because you'll kind of see if you get it closer to the center of the screen, you're always going to have a better time. This can be a little finagly, but it can be very useful. So yeah, if we get it by the center it off, it's going to help. There you go. So it's almost perfectly centered. If you get it centered on that orange screen to the left, that's really, you're going to be pretty much perfect then. All right, so I got an example for the screens right here. This is a great example of what you can do with those monitors if you're skilled enough. So this air car is absolutely wicked. This is one of actually the new workshop creations. Usually the door is auto open. There we go. You can just open the doors like that. And then check this out. Look at all these custom little screens and stuff. Check this out. So this is how you do colors. If you want to add colors somewhere, you just do the greater than, and then color equals whatever color you want, and then close it with a less than. And there you go. You kind of see how he has it off shifted. You can kind of see you can change size of text, and then sprite. If you do the sprite equals, you can use one of these icons, whatever number you input. There's a whole bunch of sprites you can use. And then you can see you can change the sizes of all the text on the fly. If you study some people's blueprints, you can figure out how to make cool looking HUDs. I mean, look at this. He made literally a volume thing. Navicon, a volume treble bass. Isn't that so cool? So just look down here and then see. It's pretty simple. I mean, you're just typing stuff in basically, and then you just put your, your sprites where you want your sprite, and then just you can adjust the sizes. You always just use the greater and the less than to close it, and put an equals in the middle. And on the wiki, I'll link the Starship EVO wiki in the description, along with a couple other things, and that will take you straight to the page where you can learn the different stuff for these screens. Because like I say, you can make your awesome custom HUDs and stuff. This air car is wicked. This looks like something out of Blade Runner. Isn't that so cool? Just a nice little example. And this actually has hovercraft mode and space flight mode. So you have two vehicles in one here, because the hovercraft stuff is on here too. I just haven't covered hovercrafts in my video because hovercrafts and mechs I really don't know how to do myself. I only know how to make spaceships and bases. So far, in 700 hours of playing this game, I haven't experimented with hovercrafts and any of the mech suits. I really want to make a Gundam at some point. I really want to make some mechs. But someday I'll learn. Someday. Anyway, I think that's really it for any of the little tips I might have. The next thing I'm going to show is how to install Reshade to make your game look next level. And we're going to have to go out of the game for that, and I'm going to leave links in the description for Reshade. And I'll show you how to get it installed, set up, and what effects to turn on if you want to make your Starship EVO look next level. So yeah, see you in just a second. All right, welcome to the internet browser. So, let me show you how this all works. So, simply look up Reshade, whatever your favorite Google or Bing, whatever you're using, whatever internet browser you're using. And of course, reshade.me will be the first thing. I mean, you won't really have to. If you just go in my description, I'm going to have a link straight to Reshade, so you won't have to, search it or anything like that. And then just go ahead and download Reshade. Download the normal Reshade, not the one where it's like, everything. And then let me switch it to straight desktop capture. And then I can show you how to install it to your game. All right, welcome to my desktop. So we have the reshade set up here. All you have to do is go ahead and double click it. It's going to show all your available games that you have installed. Click Starship EVO and then choose Microsoft DirectX 10, 11, or 12. And then go uncheck all and check all. You want to get all the effects. Go ahead and let it install. It's pretty fast. All right, and it's done. So next you're simply going to start your Starship EVO, start your game, and then when the game starts up, you should immediately start seeing this bar at the top of your screen starting to compile the effects. And this is Reshade loading everything right now. All right, we're on the main menu of Starship EVO and all the effects have compiled. So now hit home on your keyboard. You're going to see this pop up. Go ahead and hit continue, 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 and finish. So now you're going to be greeted with this menu. And I already have some of the effects turned on. So what you're going to look up is unsharp. Turn on unsharp. I don't have all my effects on. Turn on unsharp and then go down here at the bottom and turn the amount down to about 165 and keep the blur scale at 100%. Next, you're going to get clarity. Turn on clarity 2. You can also stack it with clarity 1 if you'd like. It will make things look a little bit more clear, but it's really not necessary as you're going to lose a little bit of atmosphere if you do that. Then get adaptive sharpen. If you just look up adaptive, you're going to see it. Adaptive sharpen. And you're going to want to get adaptive sharpen and just leave it on default 1.0. All right. And then you want to get bump mapping. Turn on bump mapping. Bump mapping is what really makes the game pop. So you're going to go and change your smart bump mapping, max it out. Effect smoothing is fine. Effect width, you're going to turn down slightly to about 9.4, 9.5. The bump mapping strength, you're also going to turn down to about 1.1, like 1/100 basically. And that is really all the effects you need. I know there's loads of effects here, but you really don't need any of the others. And after you have all of the effects chosen, hit down here on performance mode. It will reload all the effects real quick, and sometimes it will take a second. But after you've done that, you can basically make it where the game will only load the effects you enable, so you won't have to compile everything every time you start the game. All right, now that we're in performance mode, go up to this top tab and go to settings, and then hit load only enabled effects. It will then reload one more time, but it will be much faster this time because it's only loading those things you have enabled. And then look, now we only have those 4 things enabled. So if you go down here, if you want, you can show your FPS by clicking this, not to a check, but make it a box, and it will always show your FPS at the top right of your screen. You can also show your clock and your frame time if you feel like it. So that's a nice little feature this game has, or I mean, that Reshade has. And in the settings, you can put the effect toggle and put that on whatever key you might want. I like having it on insert because insert is like a key that you never use on your keyboard. So effectively, now you can just press home again to close that menu. And every time you hit insert, you can toggle it on and off. So let me get in game here and I'll show you the difference immediately when we're in game. I'll just load my survival playthrough. All right, and here we are in game, and you can probably almost immediately already notice a difference. One thing you can do in your option settings, now that you have this reshade enabled, you can turn off anti-aliasing entirely in the game. Just don't even use the game's anti-aliasing anymore. You can just turn it right off, and everything else is up to personal preference. But I'm going to show you here how it's going to enhance. So if we just toggle everything a couple times, you're going to immediately notice the difference. I mean, just look at the game, how different. Look at the background. Look at those trees in the background, how they're coming into clear, way more focus. Look at the mountain. You really notice it. Now let's go up to these textures. You're going to notice the textures look way better. They're popping more. Look at this. The textures look much better. So if we get in real close, like with no clip, look at them up close. You can see how much sharpness and detail is added to these like little metal bump spots. You can really see how that texture is just, it's not only popping out because of the bump mapping, but it's looking way more sharp. These textures look immensely better. You can actually see like the metal texturing on things, and there's literally no performance overhead using this reshade preset. Using it set up like this, no performance overhead. Look at the wood. The wood details you can't notice quite as much, but you definitely notice a change. And really, I mean, just even looking at my little mining gun in my hand, you can notice the scratches and textures on it more. Now, one thing that Unsharp could do a little bit is it takes away a little bit of the atmosphere from the game. That's why it looks a little bit less white. And I've had some people in the Discord say that might be a little bit much, but for my personal preference, I think this looks gorgeous. And really, all you need to do is just turn off Unsharp. And if you turn off Unsharp, you're still going to get more atmosphere look then. But I like Unsharp. You can kind of see how the white comes back. The Unsharp is toning the atmosphere down. So yeah, that's something to note. But yeah, that's really it for this reshade. I'll leave like I say, the link to reshade in the description, and it's very easy to install. Just enable those effects with the settings I told you, and you should be good to go. You should have a nice, pretty Starship EVO with no performance overhead. You can even take away performance overhead because you're turning off the anti-aliasing in game. So that's a nice little tip. Next tip. So if you hit F6, go into camera mode. Of course, this is how a lot of people like to do cinematic shots, things like that, or if you record YouTube videos like I do. But one cool thing, if you're recording a video or recording a ship or anything like that, and you want things to look a lot better, I suggest having your FOV between 28 and 34. Keep it really, really low while you're recording whatever you're making. And you're going to get like, ships are going to look a lot cooler. I mean, even my character, he looks blasted. But I mean, you can see the perspective changes and it looks a lot nicer. So this tip is more of just like those people that like to record. If you want to make little clips, showcase your ship, take screenshots of your ship, use a very low FOV because, I mean, it's just going to look better. That's just really honestly it. And that's really it for all the tips. I hope that some of these help you out. Some of them are pretty cool. Some of them are a little cheesy and cheaty, but hey, they're something that lets you have a little bit more fun with the game. So I hope this helped a little bit. Now it's on to the final chapter, and it's all about logic systems like that. So I hope you're ready to learn about computers, because it's all about technology in the final chapter of this video. I hope you're ready. I hope you feel prepared for it, because you're going to learn some pretty cool stuff.